We've reached the end of Gold Cup Day at the 2019 Cheltenham Festival, and it's been a day of drama. With me to discuss that drama is Racing Post senior writer Lee Mottershead. And Lee, we'll start with the Cheltenham Gold Cup. It was a terrific race, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, the Gold Cup always delivers stories, just like the Grand National and all the great races, and it most definitely did this season. Willie Mullins has been waiting so long to win the Cheltenham Gold Cup. 6 Cheltenham Gold Cup seconds. The race didn't again go well for him on many fronts. He's very sadly lost invitation only. Ken Boy was an early casualty. Bells Hill was pulled up early on. He had one horse going out onto the second circuit, but that horse delivered with Alboon Photo winning in the end decisively from Annabelle Fly and Bristol De Mai. And I thought as well, of course, what we had here was this glorious redemption story for Paul Townend, who at the Punchestown Festival on the opening evening there, I remember writing about Paul's bizarre actions on Alboon Photo in that Grow Wise Champion chase when he steered his mount off the course. At the time we all thought, what on earth had he done there? He thought he'd heard something. It was a mistake, and we all make mistakes. And how marvellous that here, 11 months later, in the greatest of all jumps races, the one that jockeys covet more than any other, Paul was able to win the Gold Cup on that horse, and by doing so reward Joe and Marie Donnelly, the owners, and Willie Mullins, who stuck with him. Not stuck with him, he's been supported by Paul for so long. They've been a great combination, but to reward those guys for their loyalty was a marvellous thing.
That's it. And another sort of one of the points in the Gold Cup that actually I enjoyed most was not actually Alboon Photo crossing the line, but actually before that, when Native River put in that huge leap at the top of the hill, and the crowd just went, oh, there was this roar, not unlike you get before the first race of the first day. It was great to see him run so well, albeit slightly in snatches, but honourable mentions as well to Bristol De Mai and Annabelle Fly, who went one place better than he did last year. Yeah,
the Annabelle Fly ran a marvellous race for JP McManus and his connections. Bristol De Mai, listen, Nigel Twiston-Davies is entitled to say, I told you so, to lots of us, because I think so many of us thought that his horse was basically a one-track pony, that track being Haydock, but he ran a marvellous race to take third. Native River, as you say, that huge jump at the top of the hill did get that reaction. And for supporters of Native River such as myself, it gave us false hope that maybe he could defend his crown. In the end, he ran honourably, but he wasn't able to dominate through the early stages. Richard was scrubbing him along, couldn't get a position until well into the race. He's run a fine race. Clammed his oboe, probably not suited by the softening ground, and inevitably there were disappointments. Thistlecrack pulled up, and Presenting Percy ran way below expectations, the favourite. And of course the saddest postscript of all to the Gold Cup was the loss of invitation only.
Yeah, and of course his loss, the second rather sadly today, the first of which was actually Sir Eric in the Triumph Hurdle. He was a really fancied horse, lovely horse. I saw him in the programme beforehand, beautiful animal, so very, very sad to lose him.
Yeah, it was desperate. The Triumph Hurdle start had been delayed while Sir Eric was reshod. And on the big screens around the racecourse, we had lots of pictures, live pictures of Sir Eric while the farrier did their business. And he just looked the most lovely, relaxed, amenable, kind horse. Let the farrier do his job, seemed perfectly happy, was gazing all around him. And I remember thinking, what a beautiful horse. And then a few minutes later, we lost him. And that's awful. And it happens, and this is jump racing, and we can't pretend it doesn't happen. We lost horses at last season's festival. Thankfully, we haven't lost as many this year, but whenever we do, it's painful, and the pain that we've been experienced by his connections and the invitation-only connections will be immense. And it did take the gloss off a Triumph Hurdle, which more positively had a great story in the sense that the winner, Pentland Hills, is owned by 3,000 people, which for them was marvellous, including actually a lady in the press room who was jubilant. But yeah, so in that sense, a happy story for them. But clearly, I think the big line from the Triumph Hurdle was the loss of Sir Eric.
That's it. Yeah, it's very sad. And our thoughts, of course, with connections of Sir Eric. On a happier note, later on in the day, of course, Rachel Blackmore had her second winner at the Cheltenham Festival this year. been a great year, in fact, or a great festival for the female riders. 4, I think, in total. She was she won for Henry de Bromhead, sorry, 50-1.
Yeah, I know, amazing, really. And she gave the horse such a superb ride. Dominated it from a long way out. And Rachel Blackmore is having this stunning season, involved in a Jockeys Championship battle with Paul Townend back home in Ireland. That was a second success of the meeting, and what a meeting for women riders, with Bryony Frost stealing the headlines on Thursday aboard Frodon on a day when Lizzie Kelly was also successful. So this really has been, I think, a watershed Cheltenham Festival for women riders, and those 3 jockeys, what is so great to see is they are super jockeys. Their talent is immense, and they were one of the really positive ongoing narratives across these 4 days.
Excellent. Fantastic story, and I'm going to put you on the spot now, Lee. Your highlight from the final day.
Listen, the Gold Cup always has to be the highlight. It's the race on which these 4 days hang. It's the race on which the whole jump season hangs. You know, from one Gold Cup to the next, we're always thinking about the race. And Willie Mullins is the most successful trainer in Cheltenham Festival history. That's how he came here. He came here as a man who'd dominated his sport. He'd won all the big races, really, apart from the one that matters most. And now he's won it, and I think that is a great thing for horse racing.